In exercises, when you are asked to find percents, the wording of the question will give you hints about what to do. So I've broken this down into 3 different types. Okay? One of them, which I consider to be the easier of the kinds, look like this. What is 80% of 24? So, I'm going to show you the way that I do it, but I'll show you why it works as well. Okay? So this is what the question's actually asking you. It's asking you to find out what this number is up top. If it is out of 24, and you would end up with 80%. And so my brain does this. Take whatever the percentage is, and instead of writing it as a decimal. That means it's before you've multiplied by 100. And so 80% is really that. You can ignore the 0 on the end. You can put the 0 on the end. What's important is that you have 0.8 in the tenths column. The other part, the wording of it, says of. Of means multiply. And it's out of a possible 24. Well, here's a question for you. What would 100% out of 24 be? 24. Because if you got 24 out of 24, you would have 100%. So what would 80% of 24 be? On your calculator, punch in right now for me, decimal 8 times 24. And you got 19.2. Okay, we're going to pretend by rounding that this person got 19. So let's double check. I want you to pretend that this is your test and you got 19 out of 24. On your calculator, what if we reminded ourselves that this little line that I'm pointing at, it means division? I want you to do 19 divided by 24 and tell me after by multiplying by 100 if you got really close to 80%. 19 divided by 24 times 100, and I got 79.1. Okay? Pretty close. And that's because we've done some rounding. They don't always turn out to be whole numbers. Try this one on your own for me, please. What is 15% of 40? Again, what number would you have to have out of 40 to end up with 15%? Well, you wouldn't be very happy with that if that was your test. So you know, does anybody know what you'd get out of 40 if you ended up with 50%? If you got 50% on your test, then what would 50% of 40 be? It means you probably got 20 marks right. You got half of them. Okay, so that'll give you something to gauge your answer on. Putting it into mathematical thinking, we're going to turn the percentage into a decimal, 0.15 of, multiply sign, 40. And if I've calculated this correctly, I get an answer of a total of 6. Anyone else? 0.15 times 40 gives me an answer of 6. Does that make sense? That this kid got 6 out of 40. Yeah. 10 out of 40 would be 25%. A quarter. Okay, try one more. What is 2% of 260? So I'm going to skip this part right here. I'm going to skip that part that I just smeared my hand through. Okay? What do you do to the percentage? Be very careful you don't rush it. Turn that into a decimal. It's not decimal 2. It's 0.02. It's 2 out of 100. And remember, the first column would be 2 out of 10. We want 2 hundredths times 260. Five decimal 2. So if this kid, this student, got 5 out of a possible 260 marks, his report card would say he got 2%. Whew. We're not going to see any of those. One more. Ready? This one's a bigger one. What is 150% of 18? Now I want you to think for a minute. Remember way back in the beginning I said if you got 100% and there were only 24 marks, well of course you got 24 out of 24. What if you got 100% on this test and it's out of 18? What would you get? You would get 18. This kid got more than 100%. So our number has to be half again as big as 18. Does anyone know what half of 18 is? 9. What's half more than 18 plus 9? 27. Let's see if that's a good guesstimate. Okay? What do we do to this? Turn it into a decimal. 1.5. Can you add a 0? Yes, as long as you're adding it after the decimal and after the last number. What does this word mean? Times 18. Punch it in. 1.5, 1.5, times 18. Answer? 27. And that's where you use your logic to double check. If your number was less than 18, you don't even have 100%. You go, oh, I punched something on the calculator incorrectly. Don't just write it down because the calculator says so. Okay, here we go. That is one kind. And so we had people following these rules, and then all of a sudden on the computer on Khan Academy, a different wording would come up, like this. 12 is what percent of 28? 12 is what percent of 28? These are easy peasy once I put them down there for you. So we're all watching. 12 is what percent? What do they want us to find? The percent. And it's out of 28. And these are the ones that we've been doing since the beginning. What is Mrs. Strickland supposed to do? Somebody? Divide. Which by which? Top by bottom. Numerator by denominator. 12 divided by 28. Punch it in. 12 divided by 28. 0.428. So 43. What's the last thing? Look at this. There's your hint. Times by 100. and I get 40, I'm going to round it, 43%. Okay? Let's try one more of these. Notice the difference in the wording. What is 150% of something? 12 is what percent? Here you're looking for the percent. Here you're given the percent. $16 is what percent of 17? What's my numerator? My numerator, 16. Very good. What are we looking for in the question? The percent. So the denominator, it is out of 17. Use your calculator. 16 divided by 17, and final step. Final step in finding a percent. Times by 100. Very good. I get 16 divided by 17 times 100, 94%. One more. Different wording. I personally think this last kind is the hardest kind. And it's just the wording. Once I show you the trick to look for, just follow the steps. Okay? So here's the wording. 28 is 16% of what number? Okay? This is what it actually means. Then I'll show you the trick. It says 28 is equals 16%, but we don't know how much it's out of. We're looking for that what number. Easy peasy. Turn this, please, somebody, into a decimal. What is 16% as a decimal? 0.16. That's going to help us, okay? Remember back in the beginning, when we had the word of, we multiplied. Here's the clue. We're looking for the number on the bottom. So instead of multiplying this time, I'm going to ask you to divide. So I want you to punch in 28, and I want you to divide by the decimal, that is the percent. And you should get 175. Anyone? 28 divided by 0.16, 175. Why? Let's double check. Everybody clear on their calculator? Everybody clear on their calculator? Punch this top number in. 28. Punch it in. What does the line mean? Divide. Hit divide. What number did we get as an answer? 175. Punch it in. Hit equal. And then times by 16. Times by 100. Did you get 16%? That's how you check your work. Let's do one more. Same kind, you have to figure out which of the three kinds we've done. 2 is 8% of what number? And my brain goes like this. 2 is 8% of, I don't know what the number is. Now here's the trick. Don't go too fast. Remember it's 16% was decimal 16? What's 8% then? 0.08. It matters. Okay? What am I going to do? Take the numerator, which is what? 2, and divide by the decimal percentage. Divide by 0.08. What do you get? 25. Try this with me. We're always going to check our work just to make sure we didn't goof. Do 2 and divide by what we got as an answer. Do 2 divided by 25 and then times it by 100. If you got 2 right out of a possible 25 marks, would you be happy? Probably not, because you got 8%. This will help us going forward finding percentages.